investigators and leave us questioning what really happened. These cases are ongoing in 2024, and each one is more puzzling than the last. So, grab your detective hat, and let's get into it. Story 1. The Disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. Imagine waking up on a bright and beautiful Mother's Day morning, ready to celebrate with your family, only to realize that someone close to you has vanished without a trace. This is the nightmare that began on May 10th, 2020, for the family of Suzanne Morphew, a 49-year-old mother of 2 from Maysville, Colorado, a picturesque town nestled in the Rocky Mountains. Suzanne was the kind of person everyone in the community knew and loved, a devoted wife, mother, and an active participant in her church and local charities. Her life seemed perfect on the surface, but beneath the facade lay a mystery that would soon grip the nation. On that fateful morning, Suzanne allegedly left her home for a bike ride, something she did often to keep fit and clear her mind. The day was sunny, with no signs of trouble on the horizon. Yet, as hours passed and Suzanne failed to return home, concern began to grow. Her husband, Barry Morphew, was reportedly out of town for work, and their 2 daughters were away on a camping trip. By evening, when Suzanne still hadn't returned, her daughters became frantic, and a neighbor was contacted to check on her. What they found was deeply troubling. Suzanne's bike was discovered abandoned on a rugged trail, yet there were no signs of a struggle, no personal items left behind, and most disturbingly, no trace of Suzanne herself. The discovery set off a massive search operation that spanned days, weeks, and eventually months. Helicopters scoured the area, drones were deployed, and scent dogs combed through the wilderness, but all efforts came up empty. The rugged terrain of the Colorado Rockies made the search even more challenging, but the absence of any solid leads or evidence was confounding. How could someone simply vanish into thin air? As the investigation progressed, public attention turned to Barry Morphew. Initially, he appeared devastated, making emotional pleas for Suzanne's safe return. He even offered a substantial reward for information leading to her whereabouts. But as time passed, Barry's behavior began to raise suspicions. He was described as uncooperative at times, refusing to take a polygraph test, and his alibi started to unravel under scrutiny. Investigators discovered that on the day Suzanne disappeared, Barry had made several strange movements. His phone data placed him in various locations that he couldn't convincingly explain, and surveillance footage showed him disposing of items in multiple trash bins around town. In May 2021, a year after Suzanne's disappearance, Barry Morphew was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant. Prosecutors argued that Barry had killed Suzanne in a fit of rage, possibly motivated by financial pressures or suspicions of infidelity. They pointed to Barry's controlling behavior and alleged that he had been monitoring Suzanne's communications. However, despite these accusations, there was one glaring issue. Suzanne's body had never been found. The prosecution's case was largely circumstantial, relying on digital forensics, cell phone data, and witness testimony. But as the trial date approached, the case took a dramatic turn. In April 2022, the charges against Barry Morphew were suddenly dropped. The prosecution claimed that new evidence had emerged, DNA from an unknown male found in Suzanne's car that could point to another suspect. This revelation cast doubt on the entire case, suggesting that the real perpetrator might still be out there, and Barry's arrest may have been premature. The dropping of charges left many questions unanswered. Who was this unknown male, and what was his connection to Suzanne? Had Barry Morphew been wrongly accused, Or was this new evidence just another twist in an already convoluted case? Despite his release, Barry remained under a cloud of suspicion, and the public's opinion was deeply divided. Some believed he was guilty and had managed to escape justice, while others thought he was a victim of a rushed and flawed investigation. As the case stands in 2024, Suzanne Morphew's whereabouts remain unknown, and her disappearance is still classified as an active investigation. New leads continue to trickle in, but none have led to a breakthrough. The Morphew case has become one of the most talked about and perplexing unsolved mysteries in recent years, capturing the attention of true crime enthusiasts and armchair detectives alike. Story 2. The Disappearance of Naomi Irian. You wake up to the gentle hum of your alarm, the kind that gradually eases you into consciousness. It's another day in Fernley, Nevada, a small, quiet town where nothing much ever happens. But today is different. Today, an unsettling sense of dread lingers in the air, something you can't quite put your finger on yet. It's March 12th, 2022, and an 18-year-old girl named Naomi Irian is about to disappear without a trace. Naomi was the kind of person who always lit up a room. She was full of life, dreams, and the excitement of someone just starting their journey into adulthood. She had recently moved to Fernley to be closer to her family, taking on a job at Panasonic, a routine that involved catching a shuttle bus early in the morning from a local Walmart parking lot. It was supposed to be just another ordinary day, but what happened next was anything but ordinary. It was around 5 a.m. when Naomi arrived at the Walmart parking lot, the early morning darkness still clinging to the town. She parked her car and waited in the quiet lot, scrolling through her phone, likely checking messages or social media, something we all do without a second thought. But what Naomi didn't know was that someone was watching her, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment. Surveillance footage would later reveal the chilling moments leading up to her disappearance. A man, unknown and unidentifiable, was seen approaching Naomi's car. He didn't seem in a hurry, moving with an eerie calmness that only added to the horror of what was about to happen. He got into her car, and just like that, Naomi was gone. No struggle, no screams, just the quiet, unnerving stillness of the early morning, now forever tainted by an unthinkable act. When Naomi didn't show up for work, her family knew something was wrong. They reported her missing almost immediately, sparking a frantic search that gripped the small town of Fernley. Days passed, each one more torturous than the last, as authorities scoured the area, hoping against hope to find Naomi alive. Her car was discovered abandoned in an industrial park, miles away from where she was last seen. Inside, they found evidence that suggested something sinister had occurred, but Naomi herself was nowhere to be found. Then, weeks later, in a remote and desolate part of the Nevada desert, a horrifying discovery was made. Naomi's body was found, lifeless, discarded like she meant nothing, in a place where few people would ever think to look. The life she had just begun to build, the dreams she had so vividly imagined, all snuffed out in an instant. The man seen in the surveillance footage was eventually arrested, but that brought little comfort to Naomi's family or the community. The question that haunts everyone is why? Why did this happen to Naomi? Why did this man choose her, a bright, innocent girl with her whole life ahead of her? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, how could someone so cold, so calculating, be living among us, blending in, unseen, until it was too late? The horror of Naomi's disappearance lies not just in the brutality of the crime, but in the eerie normalcy of it all. She was just an ordinary girl, doing something we've all done 1,000 times, waiting in a parking lot, thinking she was safe, But evil doesn't always announce itself with fanfare or warning. Sometimes it creeps up on you in the most mundane of places, turning a simple morning into a nightmare from which there is no waking. As of 2024, the case has left a permanent scar on the town of Fernley, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones who look just like us. Story 3. The Disappearance of Dylan Rounds. In the vast, desolate stretches of the Utah desert, where the horizon seems to stretch out forever and civilization feels like a distant memory, a young man's dream of independence and hard work would turn into a nightmare that still haunts his family and everyone who hears his story. This is the terrifying and unsolved disappearance of Dylan Rounds. Dylan Rounds was just 19 years old, full of ambition and grit far beyond his years. He had a goal, a dream he was determined to achieve, to make something of himself by working the land, farming in one of the most unforgiving environments imaginable, the remote and isolated area of Lucin, Utah. It wasn't just a piece of land to him. It was a place where he could prove himself, a solitary pursuit that many couldn't understand, but one that fueled his passion. But the land that Dylan loved so much would become the very place where he would disappear without a trace. It was May 28th, 2022, the last time anyone heard from Dylan. He had been out working on his farm, planting crops, sending texts to his family, and planning his next moves. His last call was to a family member, casually mentioning that he was going to put his grain truck into the shed to protect it from the impending rain. It was just another day on the farm, or so it seemed. When Dylan's family didn't hear from him again, they grew concerned. It wasn't like Dylan to go off the grid for long. He was known to check in regularly. Days passed, and their concern turned into panic. They rushed to his farm, hoping to find him there, maybe just out of touch, lost in his work. But when they arrived, they were met with a chilling scene that would forever change their lives. Dylan's boots were found discarded, oddly placed near a pile of dirt, as if they had been taken off in a hurry, or worse, removed by someone else. His grain truck was found in the shed, just as he had said, but something wasn't right. The truck was clean, too clean for a farm vehicle, and the seat had been adjusted in a way that didn't match Dylan's height. It was as if someone else had driven it, someone who didn't want to leave any trace of their presence. And then there was the key piece of evidence, Dylan's phone. It was discovered in a muddy pond near his property, but when retrieved, it offered no clues. The last communication from Dylan was that fateful call on May 28th. After that, it was as if he had vanished into the desert air. Search teams scoured the harsh landscape for weeks, hoping to find some sign of Dylan, anything that could point to what had happened to him. But the desert is a cruel place, vast and unyielding, hiding its secrets well. Despite the best efforts of law enforcement, search teams, and even psychics brought in by desperate family members, the search yielded nothing. Rumors began to swirl in the local community and among online sleuths. Was Dylan's disappearance the result of a tragic accident? Or was there something far more sinister at play? Some speculated that he might have crossed paths with the wrong people. There were whispers of shady characters who occasionally drifted through the remote area, people who might not take kindly to a young outsider trying to carve out a piece of the land for himself. Others wondered if there was a more personal motive, perhaps someone close to him who harbored a hidden grudge. As time passed, the mystery deepened. The case drew attention far beyond the small, isolated community where it occurred. News outlets picked up the story, and true crime enthusiasts began to dissect every detail, every piece of evidence, or lack thereof. But the more people looked, the more questions they found, fewer answers there seemed to be. By 2024, Dylan Rounds' disappearance remains unsolved, a gaping wound in the lives of his family, and a haunting enigma for all who have followed the case. The unforgiving Utah desert, with its vast open spaces and eerie silence, holds its secrets close. And somewhere out there, among the dust and the wind, lies the truth of what really happened to Dylan Rounds. Did he fall victim to the harsh environment he loved so much? Or was he the target of something far more sinister? A dark force that now hides in the shadows, waiting to claim its next victim. The thought that someone could vanish so completely, so utterly in this modern age, is a chilling reminder of the dangers that still lurk in the most unexpected places. Dylan Rounds' disappearance is a story of dreams turned into nightmares, of a young life cut short by forces unknown, and of a mystery that continues to baffle all who hear it. So, what really happened to Dylan Rounds? The answer may be out there, buried somewhere in the sands of Lucin, but for now, it remains one of the most unsettling, unsolved mysteries of our time. If you found this story as chilling as we did, make sure to subscribe to Theory Hubs and hit the bell icon. Story 4. The tragic death of Keylynn Rodney. Imagine the freedom of being a teenager on a warm summer night, surrounded by friends, music, and the open sky above. It's a time of life where everything seems possible, where the world feels like it's just waiting to be explored. But sometimes, those nights of carefree joy can take a dark, unexpected turn, one that leaves a community shaken and haunted by questions that may never be answered. This is the tragic and mysterious death of Keylynn Rodney. It was August 5th, 2022, when 16-year-old Keylynn Rodney attended a party near the Prosser family campground in Truckee, California. The setting was idyllic, the kind of place where you could lose yourself in the beauty of nature, the laughter of friends, and the simplicity of just being young. The party was large, with over 100 people gathering in the secluded area, celebrating the end of summer with music, dancing, and the kind of memories that would last a lifetime. Keylynn was a bright, outgoing teenager with her whole life ahead of her. She had just graduated from high school early and was planning to attend college in the fall. But as the night wore on, the atmosphere at the party began to shift. What started as a night of fun slowly turned into something darker, something more unsettling. At around 12:30 a.m., Keylynn texted her mother, letting her know she would be leaving the party soon. It was the last time anyone heard from her. As the hours passed and morning broke, Keylynn's car was nowhere to be found, and neither was she. Panic quickly set in as her family and friends realized something was terribly wrong. Search teams were deployed immediately. They combed through the dense woods and searched the nearby lake, hoping to find some trace of Keylynn or her silver Honda CR-V. But for 2 agonizing weeks, there was nothing. No sign of the young girl who had simply vanished into the night. Then, on August 21st, 2022, the search came to a devastating end. Keylynn's car was found submerged in the Prosser Creek Reservoir, just a few hundred yards from where the party had taken place. Inside, they found her body, lifeless, trapped in a watery grave that had held her secrets for far too long. The discovery sent shockwaves through the small community of Truckee and beyond. How could something like this happen? How could a vibrant, healthy teenager end up at the bottom of a lake, mere yards from where she had been celebrating with friends just hours earlier? The questions were endless, and the answers were few. The official cause of death was ruled an accidental drowning, but many found this conclusion hard to accept. Keylynn was known to be a strong swimmer, and the idea that she had somehow driven into the lake by mistake, especially in an area she was familiar with, didn't sit right with those who knew her best. Adding to the mystery were the strange investigators questioned the thoroughness of the initial search efforts, wondering how her car could have been missed for so long. The truth, however, remained elusive, hidden beneath the dark waters of Prosser Creek. For Keely's family, the pain of losing her was compounded by the lack of clear answers. They had to grapple with the reality that their daughter, who had been so full of life and promise, was gone forever, taken by a series of events that no one could fully explain. As of 2024, the case remains a haunting reminder of how quickly a night of joy can turn into a lifetime of sorrow. Keely's death is officially considered an accident, but for those who continue to search for answers, the mystery is far from solved. The quiet ripples of Prosser Creek still hold the echoes of that fateful night, and the community of Truckee is left with a lingering sense of unease, knowing that sometimes, even in the safest of places, tragedy can strike without warning. The story of Keylynn Rodney is one that touches on the fragility of life, the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of our everyday lives, and the chilling reality that sometimes the answers we seek may never be found. Story 5. The Disappearance of Donnie Be. Imagine someone you love vanishing without a trace. No warning, no explanation, just gone. This is the chilling story of Donnie Be, a young woman whose mysterious disappearance in 2023 has left investigators and her loved ones grasping at shadows. It's September 2023 in Ogden, Utah. Donnie Be, 23, was in a tumultuous relationship with her girlfriend, Victoria. They were well known in the community, often seen together, but beneath the surface, their relationship had its share of dark moments. On September 9th, the couple was seen arguing at a local bar. Donnie stormed out, followed closely by Victoria. The next morning, Donnie was missing. Her phone was off, her social media silent. Victoria claimed Donnie left on her own after their fight, but Donnie's family wasn't convinced. They knew something was wrong, terribly wrong. As days passed, the search for Donnie intensified. You step into the role of a detective, piecing together the fragments of that night. You stand in Donnie's apartment, a mix of chaos and order. Her car is parked outside, but something feels off. The scent of her perfume lingers in the air, a haunting reminder of the life that once filled these rooms. You dig deeper, questioning witnesses and friends. The stories you hear paint a picture of a volatile relationship, one where love and control blurred into something dangerous. Victoria, the last person to see Donnie, becomes the focus of your investigation. Her story starts to crack. Small inconsistencies, subtle avoidance. You feel the weight of the case pressing down on you as the pieces refuse to fit together. Then, a breakthrough. A witness saw Donnie's car driving erratically on a deserted road late that night, leading to a remote part of the Utah wilderness. You follow the lead, driving down a rough dirt road that cuts through the thick trees. The wind whispers through the branches as you step out of your car, the cold air biting at your skin. In a small clearing, you find it, a piece of fabric half buried in the dirt. Your heart races as you dig deeper, uncovering a hand, pale and lifeless. Donnie's body lies beneath the earth, concealed in the wilderness she once loved. The horror of the discovery hits you. This was no accident. The investigation shifts. Victoria is brought back in for questioning, her cooperative demeanor crumbling under suspicion. The truth begins to emerge, a twisted story of jealousy and control, a love that turned deadly. Donnie's disappearance was no random act. It was the result of a toxic relationship that ended in tragedy. The case of Donnie Be is a haunting reminder of how quickly love can turn into something far more dangerous. It's a story that will stay with you, a dark corner of the human heart revealed in the cold light of truth. If you're intrigued by tales like this, make sure to subscribe to Theory Hubs and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our next deep dive into the most unsettling unsolved mysteries.